Hello and welcome. I've recommented the other two on 12 and uncommented this number 13. And as you can see, this is Scissors Grid only. The other one is untouched. And in fact, I explained in the end at the end of the last recording that this whole thing with the Flexbox, we're done with it, and I'll explain why in that recording. So go back there if you want to know. Now, I don't want this Flexbox thing to be seen up there, so I'm going to go down here and take a bit of code, which I have, I think, in here. Yeah, perfect. Take this one. And I'll go up here and I'll enter this code. And it says basically... So I really want to go to the section first of type here. So I'm going to the main element, which is this one, main, and I'm going to take the first of type section, which is this one. So the first one up here. And I'm going to display none, not save. Nothing will happen, of course, and I'm not worried about that. It depends. It's because I have something of a higher specificity. Now I'll do something completely illegal, which you're not allowed to do in any way. In this course, you are not allowed to do it. But because of that, I find it very, very useful to show you how to do it, so you don't do it on and then go in and hand into me and say, "Oh, we had to do this to make it work." No, you don't have to do this to make it work if you thought things through clearly. But I find it really good if you're shown that I can overrun almost everything if I use this statement. And when you take the there are parts in this course probably that will test you on this knowledge. So let's go ahead and look at CSS Grid. Now, things are kind of different here. We're introducing something we haven't introduced before. We're actually starting to control the items of the grid, which is kind of counterintuitive because the very strength of the CSS Grid should be that we get more parental control. But even in the CSS Grid, we get to a degree where we actually find it useful to actually get that parental template in order, and then we control the childs within that template. Especially when we talk about CSS Grid, which is two-dimensional, which it's like we got a checkerboard in front of us, and now we want to tell the children which of those checkerboards it will cover. And I think that is a good likeness. In this case, what we do have here is to say grid temp columns repeat for 1 FR. So why doesn't it repeat that? If I go in here and I remove this item thing, we'll see that we actually get 4 per column. So one column, and then it goes to the next, and it keeps on going like that. So why does it not happen here? So to understand this, we have to think about what we are actually doing. We're entering a zone called grid areas. And we're not really there yet, but we're getting close to it. So I'm going to inspect this. And I'm going to, actually I can show you the code out here. There's a button on this CSS Grid where I can click it, and I'll see a sort of the lines we got here. So this is what we see here actually right now. I know it's not that visible for you, but it will be visible for you on your computer if you click it. You will see that the first line is called 1. The second one is called 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then between 1 and 2, there is a column, and another column, another column, and another column. So these are the amount of lines you need to make this, so you could say a table. because CSS Grid is very much like a table. And not a table you eat by. It's more like a table you see in Excel. So you have different cells. And in this area, you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. And those rows are 6 right now because that's the amount they're amounted to, because we have 12 items and each item takes up 2 rows. Each 2 rows per item, so that becomes 6 rows. 2 times 6, that's 12. We got 12. So with all that numbering going on here, we don't have to calculate a lot. We just have to know that this is like a checkerboard where we have a cell, a cell, and then it continues on like this. And what I'm saying here in the grid column span 2 is actually to say that each item should take up 2 columns. So what it does do, if we have 4 columns set up here, it takes 1 and 2. And that's where I have the 1 taking up 2. And now we have the 2, it's taking up the next. And then there's no more available space, and then I'll take up the next. So what would happen if we wrote 3 then? That would happen, of course. We would have an empty space out here on the right because no one would ever be able to take that. And if we said 4, it will take up the whole. But what we do maintain all the time, we always maintain the same amount of columns. It's always 4. But we're just saying if we're taking up 1, 2, or 3 of those columns, so the grid stays the same. So let's say we're talking about a 12 grid system in this case, which we often do. Then spanning 1/3 of that 12, you divide 12 by 3, you get number 4. So where's doing that? You see? Now I can have 12 grid system all the time. I can always keep it at 12 and just say to my items how many of those cells it should take up, so how many columns of them. Now we're talking about just taking up columns. We'll soon talk about both columns and rows. But I think this is a good starting point. So we started off by having this one on 2 and this one on 4, and this is the base level we started on.